Ask Mr. Tom Hart if he would come lead us in this prayer.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this community. Thank you for this board. And listen, we just ask you to, to help this board seek your will and not to ask you to bless our efforts, and everything will run smoothly. And we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll call to order Hart County Board of Commissioners Tuesday, August 10th, 2021 meeting. And I'd like to welcome each one here. We thank you for being concerned about the events in Hart County and the business of Hart County, and those that could not be here watching Channel 3 or via YouTube. We welcome you along as well. First order of business, we've had, we're going to let Mr. Dozell do his presentation. Or
no,
you got to,
we need to. We're going to have.
Go ahead. So he.
Oh, okay.
Scott Dozier from Delozer from Franklin.
You good? Yeah. This is who we've been talking to. Commissioner Dorsey reached out to him. He's a building inspector contracted through Franklin County.
Well, I'm the planning director for Franklin County, okay. So the building inspection department is underneath me. Okay. Yeah, Commissioner Dorsey reached out to me. I'm going to try to keep it as brief as possible, but I can answer any questions that y'all might have about it. So back in September of 2020, Franklin County did start a building inspections program. The way we are running our program is we do have a third-party inspection company that does our inspections. The county office is the county. We do all the permitting through the county, through myself. So we get to see and kind of manage everything that comes in, how the permits are processed and how that's flowing, and then we schedule and send the inspectors out as the inspections are requested. Like I said, we started in September of last year. I think it's gone actually really smooth. It's worked out really well. The reason we decided to go with the third-party company, which there was a lot of concern from citizens within Franklin County about using a third party. I'm sure if that's the route y'all go, you probably have the same concerns. But really, we didn't have enough work to justify a whole new position. There's some days we might have 1 or 2 inspections for the whole day. There's some days we don't have any. And the beauty of the way we've kind of set our program up is that inspector doesn't get paid unless there's a building permit applied for. So it's budget neutral. It doesn't affect your budget. It doesn't, ours is an 80-20 split. So the county does keep some of the permitting fees for administrative costs. But overall, it has been I think a very positive thing for the county as a whole. There's been, from a building side, there's been very few failures on the, structural side. What has shocked me the most is the amount of electrical failures. I'd say 10, 15 to 1, the failures that we're seeing is on the electrical side of the house when they go out and do electrical inspections, which to me, that's one of the most important safety pieces when it comes to building. But we have it set up. We have a fee schedule established. It's based on square footage. Each municipality can do it however they see fit. You can do it based on valuation, a flat fee, square footage. I mean, we kind of picked what we thought was best for Franklin County. I think it's been going pretty smooth. There has been a few kinks we had to work out, but we've addressed those and move forward. So, if you have any questions, you have anything you want me to talk about, I'm here.
You guys are using Bureau Veritas.
Bureau Veritas, that's correct.
And what's the turnaround from the time they're notified of an inspection?
So that's an excellent question, and we have it in our contract with them. So as long as the inspection is requested by 4 p.m., say 4 p.m. today, they'll be out there tomorrow to inspect. And we have not missed an inspection yet. So they haven't missed one. I've missed them on my end, but that's that's on me. But Bureau Veritas has not missed any, and they've brought to Franklin County the capabilities of doing a lot more. They can do plan reviews, they can do the fire safety, they can do the life safety, they can do the ADA compatibility type reviews, making sure it meets all that. I think they've got about 18 inspectors on staff. We've got one that's assigned to our area, but like he went on vacation about 3 weeks ago. They had another inspector backfill him, so there was no backlog, there was no delay, there was no lapse in inspection times.
What's the highest number of inspections you've had to do in a day?
I think the highest we've had so far is right around that 10 mark.
And one person was able to do all 10?
One person was. He does Franklin and Banks County right now is what he covers. But I think there's another guy that's assigned part of Banks as well. So we let them work that out. But
where are they located out of?
their home office is out of Jackson County.
Jackson County.
Have y'all spoke to them about this electrical failures you're having? I mean, you sound like you got quite a few. So
we have, and there's
notified them?
We've notified a lot of the electricians, people doing the work. A lot of it's been updates to the NEC that some people either weren't aware of or just weren't used to being checked on it, so they weren't doing it. I mean, some of it was some pretty serious stuff that was.
So for clarity, you're not having houses burned down?
No, we haven't. So state law allows for a homeowner to fill out what's called the homeowner's affidavit. A homeowner can say you want to build your own house, you can pull the permit and you can do every bit of that work yourself as the homeowner. You can do that once every 24 months. A lot of the electrical stuff has been from homeowners trying to do the work themselves. And luckily there's been somebody to check it.
Right, as long as they catch it, that's fine.
Right.
And we're talking about fees by the square footage. I think Franklin County is 20 cents per square foot in heated space and 10 cents per square foot in unheated space.
Unheated, that's correct.
So $300 fee.
It's correct. So when you pull the building permit, it'll be, you got to fill it out for the electrical, the plumbing, the mechanical, and the building side of the house. So for your 3 trades, it's a flat $100 fee. So it's a flat $300 fee for that, plus the square footage of the building. So average building permit for around a 1,600 square foot house is in that $730 range, $720 range, something like that.
Do they inspect the house the whole time that the building's going on?
They do. So they'll start. So the way we have it set up is they do their first inspection is generally footers, setbacks, and the tent power. So they'll go out there, check all 3 of those at the first inspection. This is assuming this is a crawl space house. If it's a slab or a basement house, it's a little bit different, but we're going to go with a crawl space. Then after that, it'd be your frame and rough inspection. Then it's your house wrap inspection. Then you got what we call the MEP rough in, your mechanical, electric, plumbing rough in. Then you'll have a insulation inspection, a permanent power inspection, and then a final inspection.
All right.
If you got a slab, you'll have an under slab plumbing. Basement, you got some other, 1 or 2 more added in there for that. But usually it's been one person doing the inspection the whole way through, unless he's out or something.
And you've only had one dispute case, is my understanding?
Well, yeah, we've only had one dispute, which was upheld by our Board of Appeals. They found the inspector to be in the right on the dispute.
Do y'all do energy code inspections?
We do. That's part of the So it's kind of wrapped into like the house wrap, your mechanical, insulation inspection. That's where all the energy code is checked and verified.
Do you do the blower door test?
We do.
Do y'all do the blower door?
We don't do the blower door test. Usually it's the HVAC guy coordinates that, and we just got to verify that it's been done and see that certificate.
Who is on your appeal board?
Our appeal board is our board of commissioners. Now, I would suggest having construction industry, experts, people that are familiar with it. We've had a hard time getting some of our board positions filled, but if you can find individuals that are in the construction development industry, it usually works better for them to be the board of appeals, in my opinion.
I agree with you 100% on that.
All right.
Well, we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule and coming and our conversations as well. We will be following up with you.
Okay.
And we really appreciate you taking time to come.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
Appreciate you being here tonight.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
We had an issue to come up as far as executive session litigation. Can we get a motion to adjourn and go into executive session?
I'll make a motion, we go into executive session.
Okay.
For litigation.
Got a motion by Commissioner Dorsey. We got a second?
Second.
Got a second by Commissioner Teasley. All in favor? All right, it's 5-0 vote. We'll be back as quick as we can. get a motion to adjourn executive session and enter back into the regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion by Commissioner Dorsey, second by Commissioner Teasley. All in favor? It's 5-0 vote. Okay, next on the agenda is to approve the agenda. Do we have any additions?
Yes, so we have couple of conditions. Walter, where were yours first?
All right. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to suggest that there be two changes to the agenda. That one is concerning item 12A. That was old business, and it was the rendering plant ordinance that you have done one reading of, and it's up for the second one. I'm going to ask that you take that off the agenda for tonight. I've got more editing that I have got to do on that before it's complete. And once we have the second reading, we're kind of getting pretty far along with it. So I would rather that you defer that for the next 2 weeks and let me get my edits together and email to you. And then to put something in its place, okay? Put something in place of 12A. And this has to do with a recommendation which I have, which I'll go into it further at that time if you modify the agenda. I've looked back at the language in the minutes on the issue of this 180-day moratorium, and I think it's a bit confusing, and I think that it would be preferable to consider a revision of that into two components. One would be what actually is imposed under that's affected by the moratorium, and then the other thing would be those things that you would consider in a subdivision revision or a revision of the subdivision ordinance. Because the way it is in the minutes, it's all together. Okay. That would be my suggestion, and I'll speak to that when we can do that agenda change.
Okay.
The other thing is to add under 13C, the sheriff's request give credit for experience for a jailer.
Okay, with those amendments, can we get a motion to adopt the agenda as is?
So moved.
We got a motion by Commissioner Teasley, second by Commissioner Carter. Any discussion? If not, we'll call for a vote. All in favor? It's 5-0 vote. Okay, next on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. I do have one correction.
Item 8.
Mr. Bloomberg stated changing the lot sizes would not be the answer. The word "not" should be put in there after "would." And he will cut up 1 acre lots where there will still be a 40-foot setback. That's a correction he asked to be made. Is there any other corrections?
Mr. Chairman, I've got one correction to propose, and I'm going to propose this with an apology to my friend Patty York. You remember that at the last meeting I spoke about Patty York, who's a member of our county water authority, and how she had been recently accorded an honor, which was in the newspaper. And I realized, as soon as I finished, I realized I called her Pam York, and I want to apologize to Patty for not calling her the right name. There is a Pam York, but it was Patty York, and I asked that the minutes be changed so that it says Patty York instead of Pam. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other additions or corrections?
Yeah, on page 3, on item 11, Commissioner's report, I reported about the road striping projects and how the city of Livonia are willing to work with us, and I'm also made a statement that we need to do this with other cities and counties, and also on road paving, we need to try to get together and build a list with them to where we can save money. More mileage is more money saved. That's what I said last meeting. Y'all look at the movie or
Yeah,
whatever.
I remember the road striping, but I didn't remember the paving.
Yeah, I added paving on it.
Okay.
Okay, any other additions or corrections? If not, any discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
It said in the statement.
Yes, sure.
It said in the minutes that the Commissioner Dorsey said that restrictive covenants must be approved by the Board of Commissioners. So I just wanted that to clarify. Are you saying all restrictive covenants have to be approved by
Up
the Board of
front,
Commissioners?
up front. There won't be any of
The
these.
covenants have to be approved?
The covenants will go with each lot. They'll have to all be platted and recorded. There won't be anything like what we had with Sydney Point.
But that's not what this says. Because we're not going to bring our covenants for y'all to approve our covenants on
Yes, you
property.
are. That's what we're planning on
Well,
doing.
then that's zoning.
That would be part of the
Approval process.
subdivision ordinance revision. Would not be dealt.
We're not going to have situations where
That's not
you
what
go
this
and
says.
subdivide a lot off, and you put covenants on that, and you keep all the other
I have a
property.
problem with that, Joey. That's not
I'm just
what
saying,
this
that's what we're doing. That's part, that's
Well,
the
y'all need to correct it. Restricted covenants must be approved by the Board of C and recorded at the time of subdivision plat approval.
Better be included with
Yeah, but they don't need to be approved by y'all.
included with subdivision pack.
But they don't have to approve our covenants.
Yes, it'll be part of the
You're going to tell us
subdivision
how much square
approval.
footage we're going to put in houses?
Do what now?
Are you going to tell us the square footage we're going to put in houses?
No, but we're going to make sure that the covenants are there and they're fair and they're for everybody.
That's not, you can't do that. That's zoning.
It's part of the approval process. It's what
Well, you
we're
need a
planning on
land
doing.
use plan and a zoning plan, because you can't start telling us what we can do with our property. That needs to be corrected.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? If we are approving covenants, will that not come back to bite us in the butt if somebody files a complaint?
That's a water question.
If you're involved in the approval process, yeah.
But you're making them state them up front. That's what we're doing. That's the part we're trying to get
Be
across.
clarified.
I mean, that would have to be put up with, I mean, those covenants, the way, we don't want to have a situation like we had with Sydney Point where, and others, where a lot's sold, the covenants are recorded in that deed, and the rest of the property, it doesn't apply to. If you're going to be the developer and you're going to subdivide property, if you put those covenants on one piece of property, it should be there for everybody. Not, huh?
You need to be corrected on that, because
I don't need to be corrected on that, Charlene, because I'm 100% right.
covenants in Sydney Point are recorded all in Sydney Point. There's never been changed. They're still there.
Those other lots that were platted out there were not there. It was only the ones at the end. We had the same situation.
That's
Yeah.
incorrect.
All right, let's
That's
get
not
back
incorrect.
to, all we're,
No, it's not.
What you're talking about.
I do know what I'm talking about.
let's get it back down here. All we're doing is approving minutes at this point.
Well, you need to get us back.
Approving minutes.
You're out of
is
order.
all we're doing. Okay? If we can get a motion and a second to approve these minutes, we'll move on. We did get a, has anybody made a motion?
Let's see, I started,
I'll make a motion, we approve the 7/27/21
Okay.
regular meeting minutes.
Okay, we got a second?
Second.
Who was that? Okay. We got a motion by Commissioner Teasley and a second by Commissioner Dorsey. Any other discussion? If not, we'll call for a vote. All in favor? It's 5-0 vote. All right, we'll move on to the budget meeting minutes. Any additions or corrections in these minutes? If not, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
We got a motion to approve by Commissioner Carter. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner
Just a
Teasley.
point of clarification. We talked about the maximum 10 years credit for experience. Did we confirm? That was confirmed, it was 10.
we did. It was confirmed, and she would have given that.
Okay. I thought that was right.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? If not, we'll call for a vote. All in favor? It's 5-0 vote. Okay, remarks by invited guests, committees, or authorities.
You done got that one. Moved that one up.
What?
Practically.
Last week when y'all closed the meeting, Joey had made a comment about bringing me in.
Wait a minute, we'll do that under public comment. Okay. All right. If none, we'll go to reports by constitutional officers.
I have no separate report.
Okay. Okay, now we'll go to county administrator's report.
The July financials for the month, the actual revenue was $394. I'm going to get better glasses. $394,397, which was low when we expected because the property taxes are collected except for in January. The expenses was $800,095,453, which is under budget. The monthly variance was in red at $496,056. The year-to-date balance is at $1,703,433. Real property was lowest at $36,678, which is normal. The loss came in at $313,186. EMS fees at $134,889. And the vehicle tag fees at $155,835 for the year. Setting for the year, revenue is set at 13% over. Expenses is at 3% under. And that's your number. I'll be glad to answer any questions for anybody. All right. Page group. Payne Street, the gross revenue was $29,232. Cancellations and refunds was $5,873. Actual expenses for the month, and by the way, this is for both parts. This is for Milltown and Paynes Creek for this particular month. The expense was $6,276. Left a monthly variance of a positive $17,083. And the year-to-date reserve of money we have is $140,391. And the camping fees was what you see there, $29,232. Any questions on that one?
I got a question, but it don't really pertain to that. But we made or somebody made a ruling. I don't think we voted on to put a suggestion box up at Paynes Creek Campground.
We did. We got suggestions on the website. So
It's on our website.
It's on our, yeah. There's a spot on the website when you make your reservation and check in and out. There's a place there for comments. We'll be glad to put a metal box up there if you want.
Well, I just wondered where that was at.
But we do get comments through the website.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? And one more thing to report. This past week, I approved a RV park on 22.23 acres. Met all the requirements of Title Chapter 50, Article 3, Section 50-33 for RV parks. When they meet those specifications, I have to approve them. It says I shall approve them, and I did. I'm just injecting this so there's a record in a meeting years from now when we're long gone, somebody come back and find it. But the owner is Care Investments, LLC. It's 20 sites.
What was that address?
It's on Parkdale Drive. I don't have a street address. It's just on Parkdale Drive. Just as a record in searchable form on our website, where if anybody needs to look up, they can find it. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Chair. Next on the agenda is the chairman's report. I'd just like to say that I know there's been some suggestive thinking that, the county does not do any planning. We had our comprehensive plan done back in 2017 and adopted in 2018. And this kind of goes along with our subdivision ordinance, and this comprehensive plan just wasn't done by the Board of Commissioners. It was done by local people, stakeholders in this community. So we get a conversation with the public, we the people, that's who runs this government, okay? It ain't just us guys up here, but we want to respond and we want to listen to what the people have said. And so we do that through this comprehensive plan. And one of the things that really struck me in here, and that when we're talking about these subdivisions, it says support local agricultural industry and culture. And a mitigation strategy to do that is review development policies and ordinance for ways to direct growth toward cities and urban areas. And, you know, and these are steps that we're trying to take. It's just not our opinion, but it was the people that worked on this comprehensive plan back in 2017. And also, and you can, and this comprehensive plan is on our website. It's real easy to read, and it goes into certain areas of the county. And one listing was rural Hart County. And, you know, and it suggested rural, residential, large 3-acre lots, single-family, detached, preferred. And rural Hart County is for agricultural uses, church, small-scale institution. Minimize surface parking, should blend with architectural character of the community, and conservation design subdivisions. Now, when you have conservation design subdivisions, I think your green space is, you know, the same size as your living spaces. But I just wanted the public to know that the county does do planning. And with that, I'll go with Commissioner's Report, District 1.
I'd just like to thank the road department, well, all our county services actually, but the road department's been doing a great job for me out in my district. Thank you. That's all.
All right, District C.
I appreciate our law enforcement, EMS, and all of our county employees, and touch base there a little bit on Ridge Road down there at the four-way. Shannon and them done a lot of brush cutting down there and put some of the reflectors like on the stop signs and stuff like that. I appreciate the job that they do, and that's all I got.
Okay, District 4.
Yeah, I got one thing, Mr. Chairman. I know we probably ain't the time to see it, but I'm going to see it while I got it on my mind. Another ordinance we need to be looking at, I think, is a short-term rental ordinance, because we've already had some conversations at this board about some complaints. So I think that's something we need to start looking at, too. So.
That's in progress. Walter's got the information on it. It'll change in the state law effective June. Walter's got it developed, the additional ordinances we're going to have to be compliant.
We need one.
I believe we'll be able to have that for your consideration at the next meeting, and it will involve all short-term rentals, and specifically, there'll be a number of provisions to it, but one that's critically important is the declaration that short-term rentals like Airbnb, vacation little mile owner, and these other on-the-way type things, that's going to be subject to the hotel-motel tax, just like a hotel.
Yeah, because I imagine we're losing quite a bit. That's all I got, Mr. Chairman.
District 5.
I just want to congratulate Mike Carey for receiving Teacher of the Year for the Hart County Charter System. Those of you who may not know Mr. Carey, he's been around for a long time, over 20 years, and does a great job with the youth and vocational trades. He keeps up with his students after they leave, and it's folks like that have a lasting impact on kids' lives when they move into their adulthood. So I just want to give a shout out to him, and I'm going to reserve the rest of my time for public comment if necessary.
Okay. So we'll move on down to old business. 12A is where Mr. Gordon was going to have his recommendation.
After reviewing the language in the minutes, it strikes me that there is a lack of clarity. I understand the purpose of this. I think there's certain things you can do with a moratorium and certain things you can't. And the language in this particular paragraph has a kind of a mixture of both, okay? So just for clarity's sake, I would like to suggest that you adopt that you basically supplant this with two resolutions. The first resolution would be to implement the 180-day moratorium on approval of subdivision lots of less than an acre, tiny homes, container homes, experimental subdivisions, multi-family dwellings, anything that basically is not stick-built or factory-built or a mobile home. Or you could look at that one other way, anything that is not a single-family residence. In other words, those would be what would be under the moratorium. If a subdivision came in with acre lots, and they were to be single-family residences, it was not to be experimental, and it did not involve tiny homes or containers for residences, then those would remain approvable under the moratorium. Only those things that deviated from that would be covered by the moratorium. And of course, even with the moratorium, you could still consider something if somebody asked you to do that. And that brings to mind what I think there needs to be also a provision for determining whether or not a project was grandfathered, whether or not it started before this moratorium was imposed. And I think of a couple of ways that you can do that, and this is not a perfect list by any means, but if a landowner has engaged a surveyor, and has actually platted something or drawn out a plan, a diagram, not necessarily a subdivision plat, if the landowner or his agents have brought it before the environmental health officer, Ms. Sherman, if the owner has engaged in substantive conversation with the Corps of Engineers concerning dock numbers and placement, those would be the kind of things that could be considered as allowing that project to be grandfathered. I do think, though, that as a practical matter, those would have to be done on a case-by-case basis, because otherwise there's too much fluff in it. You want to be consistent with the way that you gauge those requests. And that's why we need to be as specific as possible. But those are several things that could be done. That would be the first part of the ordinance. The second part, or the resolution, I'm sorry, that would be the moratorium. The second ordinance or second resolution would be to review the current subdivision ordinance with a view toward revision, and that as a part of that review, you would review the issue of homeowners associations. You would review the issue of restrictive covenants being applied to all lots in the subdivision. You would review the type of dwellings that would be permittable, and you would review the other things that are in that paragraph, like setback requirements and lot size. That all of those things would be reviewed in an effort to revise the subdivision ordinance. Because I think that's really what you're doing, if I understand it right. When you're saying that the setback requirements will be reviewed, that doesn't mean that you're clamping a moratorium on development, that it comes under your current guidelines. But it does basically bring to a halt developments of under 1 acre lots. And other than developments of other than single-family residences. That could be that could be the moratorium, and then the other items in that paragraph would be part of your more aspirational resolution that those items are to be considered in a revision of the subdivision ordinance. And that's going to give people a good bit of time to talk to Will Robinson's in danger, right? I used to know a guy named Will Robinson, and they said that to him all the time. Danger, Will Robinson. In any event, forgive me if I lost my train of thought, but that would give people an opportunity to kind of see this process as it goes along and to see words connected with it. In other words, there would be, I presume there'd be drafts available as you went along through the process, that each item would be considered, on a separate basis. And that's my suggestion to clarify the issue of the moratorium.
I'll make a motion that we, accept both of these recommendations.
I'll second that.
And just for clarity, for my own sake and y'all's and everybody else's, I will commit that to writing very soon.
Yeah. Okay. Any discussion?
Yeah, explain to me what we do when we review the covenants and the homeowner association.
Well, that's something that's coming up later. Okay, that's going to be in your consideration of the revision of the ordinance. And let me just say, as a preliminary matter, the Constitution of Georgia and the United States gives us the right to freely associate. And it's one of the bedrock principles of the Bill of Rights. And that, the compulsion or the requirement of a homeowners association could arguably come in conflict with that. And that's what I want to drill into myself. I think you can certainly permit homeowners associations. I don't know that you can compel them, okay? I'm not saying you can or can't, but it does seem to me to at least bring up the implication of the right to freely associate.
And the purpose of that was, at the last meeting, it was brought up that after the fact, there was an attempt or plans to develop a homeowners association. And Walter, we've talked about these covenants. We know how things have been done in the past.
Yes.
Where a developer takes a tract of land, and as they sell these things off, they put covenants on it, but they don't tie the covenants to the property that's still remaining to be sold. And there's plenty of evidence of that.
And you could actually, just thinking out loud, you could put in the moratorium part of this, that there would be a moratorium on approving subdivisions which if they had restrictive covenants, which they don't have to, but if they had restrictive covenants, then those covenants would have to apply to every lot in that subdivision. Exactly. Now, that doesn't mean every lot this person owns, okay? But it would be everything on the subdivision.
That's what's been going on.
I don't think we had the idea of writing covenants, restrictive covenants. We're not in that business. But we wanted continuity between all the covenants, that they're all the same. That's all we're asking.
And then the thing on the homeowners association, let's just assume for a minute that you could compel a homeowners association, and I really do have my doubts about that, but even if you could, I think what you're really wanting to do is this, and I've seen this, the Commissioner Dorsey's pointed this out, and several others of you have, and I've seen it myself, where somebody comes in, they got a good plan. They got a great plan. There was one in the city that y'all would remember that involved the old Skelton property, Skelton Forest, and off of Offman Street. And There was a large-scale development that was proposed. It had some really nice houses in it that were all going to be kind of architecturally the same. There was to be mostly common areas that would be governed by a homeowners association. That the homeowners association would really take a very strong role in the upkeep of that community. The problem then came when the initial developers filed for bankruptcy. The bank then comes in and basically takes the remaining lots under the terms of its loan agreement with the developer. And then the question then comes up, well, who is the homeowners association? And especially if the developer never set it up, because that happens frequently. They'll say, well, we're going to say we're going to have it, but we're not going to set it up until we have all the lots sold. And I'm sure that there's a way that we can deal with that. I think what you really want, though, is to say that if there's to be a homeowners association, that it's got to be made clear to everybody, and this is going to be the tough part, that there be a provision for continuation of the homeowners association after the first developer is out of the picture. I think that would, and that one's one that's worthy of a good bit of thought and consideration.
I think I understand this, that we're not going to approve or tell somebody what kind of restrictions to put in.
No.
We just basically want it part of the...
That's got to be submitted at the time the subdivision.
Right. If they're going to have restrictive covenants, they don't have to have them, but if they're going to have restrictive covenants, then those restrictive covenants have to apply to every lot in the platted subdivision.
But we're not going to approve them, they're just there.
No, they submit them.
Okay, that's the part
Yeah.
to be clear now.
Yeah, I mean, we're not telling them what they can and can't do. That's the point I was trying to make. The other thing that's going on that we're going to be addressing is these subdivisions go get approval, and then the lots are not recorded individually, so they're not paying taxes on it. Mm-hmm. That's going to be fixed too. So there's going to be a time period, once that subdivision is approved, all those lots will be taxed as individual lots.
And I'm going to suggest something there, that as a part of this subdivision revision, that part of the approval process would be that once it's approved, that the board file the plat with the clerk. That makes it, you can add in whatever the fee is for doing that. It's a nominal fee, maybe $8 now, but basically that would be included in the application process, and it would, once it was approved here, then it would be recorded and thus be binding. And that, I think, would resolve a lot of things. And just for people who may be landowners or developers and who have a concern about overtaxation, there is a method for handling that. And while you may not agree with the outcome, the Board of Assessors now has an understanding of what we would call a saturation rate. The saturation rate is basically the length of time it takes to sell out a subdivision, okay? Because if you have a 20-lot subdivision and you get that plat approved, then you do have 20 separate lots. It's no longer a pasture. And let's then say that you sell one lot and nobody wants the rest of them, okay? Well, it really isn't fair for the landowner to have to pay the tax rate on 20 separately evaluated lots, but that's where the saturation rate comes in. And how that works, I think that you would probably want to talk with the Board of Assessors about, or the Chief Assessor, the Chief Appraiser, because that is the way that it's done in other counties. It's a method by which you take into account the number of lots sold and the number expected to be sold and the length of time that it may take to become fully saturated.
All right, thank you. We got a motion by Commissioner Dorsett, and I second it myself. Any other discussion? If not, we'll call for a vote. All in favor? It's a 5-0 vote. Okay, then we'll move on to the non-binding letter of intent with Stifle Public Financial Services. This is Mr. Gordon.
I think I've said more at this meeting than I have at any other. Maybe maybe more than I have in all of them all together. What this is, it just has to do with the jail project. We need, you have now solicited a construction manager, which includes an architect and engineers and so forth. You have made the determination that you wish to finance this through the Association of County Commissioners lease purchase program. Now, that necessarily involves a bond or a debt, okay? And what the Stifle or Stifle group would do would be to guide you through the financing part of that, okay? Because it's primarily the IRS that you're dealing with on bonds, but I know enough to be dangerous, but I sure don't know what needs to be known. And the young man who's approached the county about that is Andrew Tritt, and he seems to me to be a real up-and-comer who is part of this group. And that, by the way, is a major capital management group. You may not have ever heard of them, but they're the kind of people who are in the background on things like jail projects, school projects, hospitals, various things like that. And I want to point out that by authorizing the chairman to sign that document or that letter, you're not agreeing to pay him anything. It doesn't become binding until down the road, once the decisions are actually made about how this is going to happen. What this basically says is that you're not going to be that if you hire a financial advisor, it'll be this group. That's about the best way I know to say it. It doesn't commit you to doing anything or paying anything now, but down the road it will, if you want it to.
Okay. Can we get a motion to allow me to sign the non-binding letter of intent?
So moved.
Okay. We got motion by Commissioner Dorsey, second by Commissioner Teasley. Any discussion?
Yeah, I got one question. How did we end up with this group?
ACCG.
ACCG. Excuse me. Just want to make sure that was clear.
They were top over it.
Okay. All in favor? It's a 5-0 vote. Under new business, Hartwell Main Street, use of courthouse grounds for annual scarecrow event. This is something we do every year, and I don't think we have any restrictions or any reason why we shouldn't allow this. I'd like to get a motion.
Just keep it off the grass. It doesn't kill the grass because it sits there for a while. It'll kill the grass.
Yeah, that's the bills will hate sitting on the grass. And they know what we've done in the past couple of years.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Carter, second by Commissioner Teasley. Any discussion? All in favor? It's a 5-0 vote. All right. Next on the agenda is a Ms. Vickers, did you have anything you wanted to say?
You're welcome.
I mean, okay. Okay.
We try to make it.
You're welcome.
That's fine.
But I don't have anything to say about that either.
Okay.
I can
Thank-
order back there.
All right, we'll go on to new business 13B, replacement loader for road department. Use SPLOST 5 funds.
Basically, it's a 43, 44-year-old piece of equipment that had just wore out. There's no reasonable way to repair it. Ed, Shannon, and the Caterpillar rep highly recommend replacing it. And what you have there is the state contract price on the Cat, same size loader.
We'll have to bid it.
Huh?
We'll have to bid it.
State contract.
I still think you got to bid it.
I'll be glad to, but I mean,
Yeah, I think we ought to beat it too.
I mean, anything over 100,000, we have to bid. Public Works. You agree with that, Walter?
okay. But again, that's a budget number then.
What kind of bucket are you going to have on?
Just listed right there.
It'd be a big one.
Okay.
2.4 yard.
Yeah, but
It's optional.
We've got the clown bucket, we'll use our old one.
we're going to use the old bucket.
Yeah, there's a ground bucket comes on this with the teeth.
Can we get a motion to put this out for bid?
So moved.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Dorsey to put it out for bid, second by Commissioner Carter. Any discussion? If not, we'll call for a vote. All in favor? It's 5-0 vote. And during the meantime, we're renting a
Yeah,
loader.
they're still working, yeah. We leased one until we
Just so
got a
the
replacement.
public knows that they didn't shut down because we got a loader tore up. All right, next on the agenda is the 13C Sheriff's request.
Yeah, he's hired a certified detention officer and requesting to give him 2 years credit for experience.
Can we get a motion? Give 2 years. We got a motion by Commissioner Carter.
Make it retro.
Hey, it's in this paper here.
Do we have a second? We have a second. Come on, Commissioner Teasley. Any discussion? If not, we'll call for a vote. All in favor? It's 5-0 vote. All right, next we have public comment. And I just want to be clear about something. At this point, we're going to be having a land use ordinance available in the next few weeks. And, you know, if you're here to speak on the land use ordinance, then you will be given 5 minutes to speak and one time. I mean, we'll have 3 readings of this. And so my recommendation, if you want to speak about the ordinance, you're welcome to tonight. We're not denying anyone to speak on that, but, you know, wait till we have the ordinance done would be my recommendation, to see what the ordinance says and then use your 5 minutes at that time. But we are going to allow 5 minutes for each person to speak on that ordinance. So with that said, do we have anyone for public comment? Okay. If not, oh, okay. Okay, any other I mean, this is public comment, but I'm just saying, if you speak on the ordinance, then that will be considered your 5 minutes.
Yeah, look, we got a clock.
Yeah.
My name's Doug Mock. I'm the owner of Silver Oak Homes. Last meeting, obviously, there was a lot of conversation and dialogue taking place about Silver Oak Homes, me in particular, and North Point Subdivision. A lot of things were said that were basically just accusations that were not backed up with any fact, and the board unfortunately reacted on some of that. And at the end of the conversation, Joey said, let's threaten him to get here. And I think it was Mr. Bennett who said,
what?
You said, let's threaten me to come in and talk. Mr. Bennett.
I never said threaten anybody.
Please go read the minutes.
I didn't threaten anybody.
Yes, you did. You said threaten me. But anyway, neither here nor there. I don't want to get contentious. I am here to answer your questions and to talk about North Point Subdivision. So first and foremost, we had a young lady get up here and talk about a lot of her credentials and talk about being a home inspector. I actually have a copy of her resume. She's not a home inspector, she's a home appraiser. She has no real background in inspecting homes, nor should she be able to get up here and talk to you about the quality of the house that I build and sit here and tell you that I do not pad up my foundations, okay? So I'm a little bit upset about that, the fact that y'all let her talk for 18 minutes and 6 seconds and basically slandered me and my company the whole time. So I do want to address all your comments and concerns. First and foremost, I will say that all of our houses are built per code. As Joey likes to say, or sorry, Commissioner Dorsey, us builders from Atlanta, even though I've been here 13 years and been part of this community, I build everything to code. So every home I've built in this community, every home I built in the city of Hartwell, every home I built in Franklin County with Scott, have all met code and then exceeded code. Okay, so first and foremost, there is nobody in North Point Subdivision that has a cracked foundation.
I didn't say there was.
Ms. Piper said there was. So, and nobody disputed that, no one gave me the opportunity to dispute it. We have a person who has a cracked driveway, and we are addressing that, okay? So, I guess another thing I'd like to just go back and say is that she talked a lot about how her home was riddled with issues. Well, I didn't build her home. Someone else built her home. And she said that, well, I went out and paid for an inspector. Well, in fact, she did not pay for an inspector. And I have a copy of her inspection report because she didn't pay for it. It's paid for by somebody else. And every issue, and I've got a copy here for all of y'all, every issue that was addressed on there was not riddled with issues. She had a couple issues and they were all addressed and they were paid for by Mr. Parker. So her comment about people who don't live up to their word and aren't men of ethics, well, I think Mr. Parker ought to take a little bit of exception with that. So next thing I'd say, Mr. Bennett, Mr. Carter, y'all are both home builders. I provide each one of my home builders with a 10-year warranty. So if I'm building a shoddy house, why am I going to stand behind it for 10 years? Okay? So, to sit there, and if I'm going to put my name on something, and then I'm going to pay to have it warranted for 10 years, I don't think, do you offer a 10-year warranty on your homes?
I don't build homes.
Okay.
Y'all are hard to do a year.
Remodel, well, I'm sorry.
I'm not a developer.
Same
I used to build homes.
Okay. So anyways, I stand behind my product. I build a good product, and I put my money where my mouth is. The next thing that we talked about, or you brought up, was the fact that there weren't any wells. She said there were no wells. Well, I here have the receipt for the wells that we capped in North Point. Okay? I never said there was a multitude of wells. I think that was her verbiage. I said there was a couple wells, and you'll see here if you like a copy of it. There's a receipt for capping 2 wells.
I think you told us all the wells are capped out there, didn't you?
They're all, yeah, they're the 2 that I
I asked you
capped.
that
Yes,
question.
yes,
Okay.
you did.
I don't think you said the specific number. He said the wells were
Well,
capped.
she used the word multitude, so I'm telling you there were 2 and we capped them. The next thing that she had brought up on the list was the fact of the homeowners association. I have never had any dialogue with anybody about talking about starting a homeowners association. The dialogue I've had with people was they had asked if I would ever put in a swim and tennis, and I said if I did that, I would have to start a homeowners association, and it would be up to the people in the neighborhood to start that. I don't want a homeowners association. I'm a builder. I'm a developer. That costs money. Do you think I want to spend more money and time and energy on a homeowners association? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't know why anybody would.
And I never said it. That's the issue. But y'all automatically assumed that since she was up here saying and regurgitating all these untruths, that it was the fact. And that's not the case. And I apologize, I'm going to go over my 5 minutes. Y'all gave her 18 minutes and 6 seconds. I'll take 18 minutes and 6 seconds. Let's see. She talked about, well, I'm not even going to talk about promises that were made by other developers. I wasn't there. I can't say. When I bought the property, nobody gave me a list and said, oh, here's the promises I made. Will you still follow through with these? So for any people out there that were promised something, I apologize, but I wasn't there. And if I didn't know about it, I can't back it up. A gentleman got up and spoke about the pond and worried about slabs being built in the pond. I have a plat of the original neighborhood, and I have a plat of what we did on the interior, which all approved. Lot number 38 was the pond lot. If you'll notice, there is no lot 38. We made the decision for health purposes because it was basically a swamp that we would take the pond out. So I lost a lot because I decided not to build on that lot. Got with the health department, we rerouted the water to ensure that it would flow properly, and then we got rid of the snake-infested, mosquito-infested swamp that it was. So it was a health issue that I addressed for the well-being of the neighborhood. So for the gentleman who asked the question about the pond, well, that's what happened to his pond. Now, as far as a park, having a family recreation area, again, not part of the conversation I had, but I've not received one phone call from anybody wanting to discuss it. I'm open-minded. We have a lot back there that could probably be a good little place right on the river that we could look at. But once again, it's never been brought up. So if Ms. Piper was so upset about everything that was going on that I was doing wrong, how come she's never once called me? I've never talked to the woman once in my life. I don't even know her. I didn't know her until she stood up here and started making slanderous statements about me and my company. Now I know her pretty well because I've done my research on her. Sadly, it's a shame that y'all would sit here and let her get up here and just spew untruths without doing any fact-checking or giving me my opportunity to stand up and, really defend the things that she was saying about me and my company.
I think somebody made the statement you weren't here to defend yourself.
Yeah, I think you did. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I did.
And the other thing, if you have any other questions, I'm happy to address it. I've got plenty of documentation. I've got letters of recommendation, Mr. Dorsey, if you'd like me to read them to you from the owners out there. You had mentioned one time before, asked me
I don't know what your problem is with me. I haven't done anything to you. I asked you at the last meeting when you came here, had you talked to anybody in that subdivision about subdividing these lots? You talked to one person.
Correct.
You named one, but you turned to look at Charlene and wanted other names, like there were other people that you talked to.
No, I said one person.
The person you talked to, where does the person you talked to live?
Live in North Point. No, the answer is, let me answer that
They live in Florida, according to the tax
No, they don't live in Florida. Their address is North Point. They actually have
5 acres.
They have an acre. They bought the land in North Point, and they would travel around in their Winnebago. They are retired. That's what they choose to do with their life. If they choose to travel and be vagabonds, that's okay, but their home is North Point. Now, to answer your last question, you're concerned about us not putting up our permits so that tax records won't get reported. This is a list of every one of my plats that's been filed with the county for the last several years.
And every one of them was expired too, were they not?
These are my tax bills.
But didn't you have to come back and get new building permits?
For 4 of them, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, for four permits I did.
And that's something this board voted unanimously to get aggressive with.
Joey, I have no problem with that.
So.
You know what? Sadly, as a builder, when I go in, I get a multitude of permits at one time. The whole idea is that we're going to start up these homes, but what happens is you get rain delays, you get different delays. Things get delayed. Yeah, do I look at them all the time? But no. As soon as I found out they were expired, I took care of it. And just so you know, I do pay tax on every one of my lots. So I'm not one of those guys you're talking about.
Did I say your name? No, I didn't.
Well, you alluded.
Not about taxes. No, I didn't. There are multiple people who have gotten by with that.
Well, I'm not one of them.
I didn't say you were. So for the record, let's make sure, because I disagree with some of the other things you've said tonight.
Well, I'm here to answer the questions. Y'all wanted me to come back in to answer these questions. I'm here to answer them for you right now. So I'm not trying to be, combative, but I'm a little upset, to be honest with you. I think you can tell by my tone. But if there's any questions y'all have or concerns, I want to address them now. I've got other projects coming up in the county and the city, and if you have concerns, let's address them. Let's get them behind us.
Let's ask about the covenants. You guys are putting covenants on your properties, right?
Correct.
But the other lots that you haven't sold, you don't have covenants on those, right?
Currently, the way that we are, we don't have a master set on file.
Okay.
So that was the way it was. It came an issue, I guess, 2 meetings ago. We talked about the reason we didn't. I'm not opposed to doing a master set of covenants. No one's ever asked me to. Now I do have a question about what you're going to do when I want to amend those covenants or make them a little more stringent. Do I have to come back in front of the board and submit them and get approval again? If I submit them when I'm doing my original subdivision, but then I want to change them, and we can get to that down the road. It's something that y'all still talk about, but that's something you got to think about. How am I going to make those changes? If I want to make them more stringent, how am I going to make them more stringent? That's just something else.
I think we're just looking for consistency among all the...
And I agree. I
That's all
don't
we're
think
looking
it's
for.
wrong.
That's all we're trying to do.
And North Point just happened to be that neighborhood that we didn't have the master. And a point came up on it. We addressed that point. We may not have fallen on the same side of the agreement, but that's, we addressed it.
You made yourself very clear, Mr. Mock, and we thank you for coming in and defending your honor, sir.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr.
I got a
Mark.
question.
Yes, sir.
This is for everybody here. Not y'all, but Walter and Thurl and the whole board. If we want a record of your covenants, when you develop a piece of property, you got 20 lots, we'll say, and you got a covenant, and you decide you want to amend those covenants, then this board needs to know about it whether they can change your record. We don't need to just forget about it.
Well, sure.
Because if we're looking at something that's 15 years old and somebody's doing something different now, we need to up-to-date the amendment. So
I agree. That's what I'm saying. I just need to know the process would be to